Hey, it's Scott Petrak with another episode of the Browns Zone Coverage Podcast. The Browns and their fans can exhale after the 18-13 win Sunday in Jacksonville. While it got way too close for comfort at the finish, the Browns made significant improvements on offense, defense, and special teams. That includes quarterback Deshaun Watson. Here to discuss, as always, is Dave Chudowsky of the WKYC Morning News. What's going on, Chud?
Woo! Scott, man, that was something, huh? I mean, winning in the NFL is a beautiful thing, but how they did it was very ugly. But at the end of the day, it's a win, and they needed it. They're 1-1. They avoid the dreaded 0-2, which, as we know, just turns ugly in the NFL most of the time anyway. So what's crazy about it, though, is, and we've brought this up before, imagine what our talk right now would be like and what the city would be like had one play happen, and that simply would have been, imagine if that Hail Mary would have been caught. It just changes the whole tone and direction of this conversation. But since it wasn't, it's a win, and we don't have to worry about that. And my goodness, much needed.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And you're right. And I'm not going to get into all that, but we would look at Deshaun Watson's performance completely differently if they give up the Hail Mary at the end. All of a sudden, it doesn't look as solid. It's what happened in the second half. You can't score points in the second half. Why'd you make that terrible third down incompletion when Stefanski told you to take a sack if it wasn't an easy incompletion that gave Jacksonville more time on that final desperation drive? So, yeah, everything changes. That's the way the NFL is. And I don't want to sidetrack us too much, but I think this is a good opportunity to say this. That's why Kevin Stefanski's approach and attitude and demeanor is perfect for this league. And I'm writing an analysis about it now, Chud. And we talked about it last year when all the injuries were going on. And it's go 1-0 this week, and he doesn't have this big picture perspective. It's all about this week and 1-0, and that gets boring. And he gets sick of hearing the same quotes, but it's incredibly important to have that mindset when you have a terrible opener like you do against Dallas, like they did against Dallas, where, okay, that's behind us. This is the game, and that's all that matters. And then when you win that game, you can't put too much importance on that. And the players didn't.
Right.
It became, hey, we got to win. No, there's no big exhale. There's no sigh of relief from the team. It's, hey, we did what we're supposed to do. We went 1-0, and now we have to do it again. And just in the roller coaster of the NFL, Stefanski's even-keel demeanor, I think it just keeps getting reinforced to me how critical that is.
Yeah, no question. I mean, if you're going on FanDuel or going to Vegas and just having a little fun, hey, more power to you. We've all done it. Maybe not we all, but it's fun to dabble in it. But boy, if you're trying to make a career living on betting on the NFL, good luck. I mean, this week, I do a picks thing with my family, and I can't tell you how many games I lost just straight up, let alone the line. I mean, the life of the NFL and how week to week it is nuts. And, I said it on the air yesterday morning on the morning show. I said, just like we shouldn't have gotten 2 down last week, let's not get too high this week because, things change so much, and that's exactly what happened. And I'm not surprised. I brought up the fact that I did terrible in my family picks just because I don't want to look like I'm like gloating or anything, but I did pick the Browns to win last week.
Yep.
And everything that I said pretty much happened of why I thought it would happen is I had that faith in Stefanski. The guy just doesn't start 0-2, and I just felt like he was going to come out with a good game plan, and you saw that on the first drive. And I know that I always say I want to see it first, and that's why you were surprised. I put my faith in the defense, which is kind of ironic because I'm, not as high on the defense as you are. But I just felt like in this game they would pave the way, and I feel like they did. And the last thing, too, is Jacksonville is the most underwhelming, underachieving team in the NFL. They really are, Scott.
I tell you what, they make a ton of mistakes, Chud, and a ton of critical, just the worst time kind of mistakes. And I know we're only 2 weeks in, but you saw it week one, right? They had a chance to beat Miami. They should have beat Miami. Etienne fumbles into the end zone. They wound up losing. They had chances against the Browns and just did nothing. I like a lot of stuff about Trevor Lawrence, but I think it's 7 straight games that he's lost as a starter. Had it, obviously going back to last year. Doug Peterson has won a Super Bowl, but it's just not working, and it didn't look good against the Browns, and the Browns were able to take advantage, and they had the coaching advantage in that matchup. And you were right, and obviously they could have lost that game, and then I would have been saying, yeah, I got it right because I thought it was going to be a close loss. I had the Browns scoring 16, and until that safety, they had 16. I just figured Jacksonville would figure out a way to score a few more points, but it didn't. But your recipe for your blueprint for a win is how it played out. And I wasn't sure Stefanski, not that I doubted Stefanski, but as bad as the offense looked against Dallas, I wasn't sure it could make the necessary jump by week 2. And that's why I hesitated to pick the Browns. And I was wrong about that because starting with that opening drive, the scripted plays that Stefanski has, they came out and were different. And it wasn't just an execution. It was philosophically. They went with jumbo formations. They showed a commitment to the run that was missing in week 1. So I know Stefanski always says it's a game-by-game thing and the game plan changes and the personnel changes, all those things. And I get that and I appreciate that approach. That's a Bill Belichick thing. And, obviously we know the success he had. I just wasn't sure that they would do that in week 2. From week 1 to week 2, there were huge differences, and that paved the way for the win.
Yeah, well, if they were playing the Chiefs or this New Orleans Saints offense that is wow, what's going on there? If they were playing a different team, I probably would have agreed with you. And that's why I wouldn't – I'm not saying you're down on it, but I think your philosophy actually was correct and makes sense if you're – just depends who you're playing. It's just Jacksonville, like I said, this was the get right game for the Browns, especially on the road, because the Browns were not good on the road last year. They didn't win a lot on the road, right?
They had 3 wins. Yeah.
This was the 3 wins. This was the perfect scenario for the Browns, and they almost didn't do it. Yeah. It just shows you how hard it is to win in the NFL and how perfect the Browns did not play a perfect game. And that'll bring me to my next thing. Scott, these penalties are out of control. I mean, first against Dallas, now against Jacksonville. Are they I think they're the most penalized team in the NFL, right?
Oh, yeah. They were 24, and I haven't checked since the Monday night game, but Pittsburgh was next with 19. The Browns had 24. I'm sure they're still in front, which obviously you don't want to be leading. Yeah, they got to figure that out, and it's all different stuff. They had a couple neutral zone infractions on the defensive line. Then they get that 3 out of 4 play stretch at the end where Dante Foreman gets a face mask. And, I don't blame the coaching for that. The guy is trying to protect the ball. He grabs a face mask. You can't do that. But that's not I don't think a concentration lapse. That's a heat of the moment kind of penalty. But then you get holds on Ethan Posick, hold on Wyatt Teller. And all of a sudden you think you're at the 10-yard line to now you have to punt. And it changes everything. And it gives Jacksonville a chance. And then there's the great punt and the safety. But then they have illegal shifts. And those are the penalties that kill the coaching staff. That just drives them nuts because you work on that, you practice that, you control that. And I'm not trying to pile on Deshaun Watson, but it feels to me that relies on the quarterback. You have guys moving. You have to have that clock where you get everybody set and then you move the guy in motion, as opposed to, guys run to the line of scrimmage. And then if that guy in motion moves before everybody's set for a second or a count, then that's where the penalty comes from. Because the rule is you can't have 2 guys in motion. Well, if everybody's still getting set originally, then that motion counts, they kind of overlap. So I think Watson has to slow things down. And I know the Browns are trying to go with tempo sometimes, but you have to take that extra beat because these penalties kill you. If you make a big play, it comes back with the illegal shift. So, I think they'll get those things cleaned up. But when we talk about, they corrected a bunch of things from week 1 to week 2. They still got to clean up penalties. Third down is awful. I think it was 2 for 15 against the Cowboys and 2 for 14 against the Jaguars. So you got penalties and you got third down, and then I got to figure out a way to get Omari Cooper back to being Omari Cooper. Those are the three things that I think they need to take the biggest steps in.
Yeah, and you want to talk about all those. But how about fourth down, though? They did really well on that. And, that brings – go ahead.
No, I mean, I don't want to interrupt, but yeah, that's what saved the third down, because all of a sudden you go 3 for 3 on fourth down and you're able to extend those drives. And I think at least 2 out of the 3 fourth downs turned into points. The one was the drive that I just talked about that got backfired with those penalties late. But it's Jameis Winston coming off the bench, and it's 2 quarterback sneaks, and then you take advantage of the defense focus on the sneak, and you hand it to Jerome Ford for 36 yards around the left end. And we've seen Stefanski do that before with Harrison Bryant in a pitch out. But, that's creative. It's important. You're using all your players, and that's another thing. I'll go a little sidebar here. They used so many of their active roster on Sunday. I thought it was impressive, and they did it early. Nick Harris and Zach Zinter is the extra lineman. Dante Foreman, who didn't get a carry against the Cowboys, gets the first start and gets the first carry and gets a bunch of carries. They go with 2 tight ends on the first series. They had 5 receivers play on the first series. Like the whole offense almost played on that first series. And when you talk about a team win, to me, that's part of what it means to have a team win. So I think that was instrumental in the victory. And just one more thing I just want to do before I forget about it, Chud. Talk about Jameis Winston. And comes in and gets those sneaks because they don't want Deshaun Watson sneaking. I don't think he's good at it. They've never had him do it because it was Jacoby Brissett and then it was Harrison Bryant. So they go with Jameis Winston. He gets in there. So Jerome Ford, the running back, gets asked about Winston and what he's like in the huddle on our Zoom call with them Monday. And he says, he's a great leader. We make a joke that when he's calling plays, it sounds like he's got a surprise to tell. He makes sure that he makes sure he gets to play clearly, slow and loud. We're all able to hear, and he gets the job done. So I heard it. I thought it was funny. I just tweeted innocuously, about he's got a surprise to tell. And the tweet went viral, Chud.
I saw that.
Like 2.4 million views and 45,000 something, right? I mean, I don't usually get anywhere near that kind of stuff, but people thought it was so funny. And I think the other thing is Winston is popular throughout the league. And when you tweet or something or write something about him, it just gets some kind of traction. So I just thought that was funny and relevant to the game because you're right. Those 3 4 downs are huge.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. That was going to be one of my next things. I was going to say Petrak went viral. I thought that was pretty cool. I did see the amount of retweets and likes, and I was like, wow. I go, that, you know what it is? You never know on X what's going to fly, right? I mean, you just never know. But
and part of it's getting picked out. Like Ocho Cinco replied to it, right? So once you get something like that, then everybody's seeing it, But it was just funny,
right? Did any of the other beat writers put it out there?
That's you know what? I did not go and look, so I don't know. I don't think so. Like I didn't, I get a lot of those notifications, but we're in the Zoom at the time, so I don't get to see all of them. But I did not notice anybody else. It just trying, how those Zooms are like. You pick certain stuff to tweet, and you're asking a question, so you don't tweet the previous answer because you're in the middle asking the next question. So there's a million things going on, and there's news that I don't tweet right away, but that one happened to catch me, tweeted out quick, and then it just went bananas.
Yeah, I've always struggled with that on X because I'm always worried about being wrong if you do it quickly, and then you don't want to miss something that you need for your job that you're doing anyway. So how does it feel to be famous nationally, buddy? You're a big time.
Yeah, let's not get carried away, Chuck. But it is interesting. I was getting some texts about it. My cousin texted me, how did you know? He's like, every time I logged on, somebody else was retweeting. And I was like, all right.
That's great.
But you're right about getting it wrong because, obviously that happens. You hear something wrong or you type something wrong and you're going quick. So I went back to make sure that I didn't screw it up because I'm like, I can't have, at the time it was 50,000 people looking at it. It's like, if it's wrong, I better get it off of there. But the quote was right. So I'm good about that.
I'm going to be on your coattails here. We might get more listeners now.
There you go. Yeah, right. I should
right?
figure out a way to connect that tweet with a link for the podcast.
Yeah, and then can you put Ocho Cinco on it?
Yeah, right.
And then just be like, hey Ocho, do you mind sharing this so we can get some more listeners?
Right. I should put that I'll tell the marketing team to get going on that.
There you go. We got Ocho Cinco behind us. Who knows who else we get? But well, so I was going to bring that up along with just the running game in general. I wanted to talk more about that. I felt like in that first series they committed to the run and they really pounded 16 plays, 89 yards, and I felt like they stayed with the run for Would you agree that you got a good amount of running game here, and fans always ask for that, and we got it.
Yeah, they ran it 29 times. And I think in the opener, it was 4 times in the first half, Chud, which, it shows no commitment. And I get it. The offense is different. They're going to throw the ball more this year. But I feel, especially with Watson not being where he needs to be right now, you got to take some pressure off him. And the only way to do that is not have him throw 50 times. And that's by running the ball. And the offensive line, you take pressure off the offensive line. We talked about the 17 hits and 6 sacks week 1. Well, if they know you're going to drop back and throw every time, those numbers are going to get increased. So the offensive line loves to run the ball. I feel like coming out and doing that and going jumbo and having your big back and Foreman, it changes a mindset. It gives the linemen some confidence. It takes pressure off Watson. So I wasn't convinced that they would do that, but the fact that they did, I think, was important. I think it was huge to the victory. And it reminded me of Kevin Stefanski, and I know he's still the play caller, but it reminded me of Kevin Stefanski's offense his first 4 years, where you would see that. And we've talked so much about what's going to be different in this year with Ken Dorsey. And, and I've talked about it's not going to be all different, and we're going to see a combination. I felt like week 1, it was kind of all different. And week 2 was a combination, but leaned more toward the Stefanski we're used to. And I don't think it's going to be like that every week, but I think that was necessary at this point in the season where your quarterback is, where your passing game is, where you don't have your left tackle, so your protection isn't where you want it to be. And that's a way to work around all those things.
Before we get to Watson and break him down more, I do want to bring up, and you just brought it up a few minutes ago, Omari Cooper. That's one thing I did get wrong. I thought he was going to have a big game with the depleted Jacksonville defensive backfield and the injuries. What's going on with these drops, Scott? I mean, he had a lot of targets. I mean, we're talking about your number one guy, one of the better receivers in the NFL, and it's kind of getting frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, he had 8 targets and 3 catches. And, he did draw a pass interference, which, he doesn't get credit for that, but that's worth noting. But it's not where it needs to be. And there's a few layers to this. The drops are concerning, and I don't think those will last. He's had an occasional drop in the past. He's got good hands. It happens. But there's 2 big ones in 2 games. And it cost him points both times. The first one, the outcome had been decided, but he still should have caught it. The other one, could be the difference between a field goal and a touchdown, which we know is huge, especially the way the game wound up playing out. So he just doesn't look in sync with Watson, just doesn't look himself. Not physically. I think physically he's fine. He's still getting open, which is what he does. But the catches aren't there. And, on that play, it looked like he misjudged it and kind of jumped when he didn't need to. There was another play where he beat the corner right off the line of scrimmage, and he bent the route inside, and I think Watson thought he was going to go outside, so the ball was high, and it goes off his hands. It's tough to drop, but he was wide open, and they should have made that connection. So I think part of it's the timing with Watson, and just part of it is Cooper dropped a couple balls that he shouldn't. And it makes you want to think, well, we had the contract distraction in the offseason. Then you had the talk about him being traded to the Niners. Is that having any impact? And I think he's too much of a pro to connect those dots. I'm watching him, and he's running hard. So I don't think that's it. I just think it's a slump. I think he's in a bad 2-game stretch. I don't think it's he turned 30 and he forgot how to play football. I still see him running and getting open. Even though there's a play late in the game, it's 3rd and 3, and he catches a shallow cross and he's got the first down, and he should have just fallen forward. Instead,
Yes.
he tries to run around the corner and gets his legs taken out and loses a yard, and then they got to go for it on 4th down, and they get it. But that's a huge play, and it's the potential to be a huge mistake, which you don't usually see him make. So, he didn't talk after the game. He walked right past me in the locker room. He was out of there in a hurry. We'll talk to him Thursday and see if he has any kind of explanation. But I don't think this will last. I think he's too good. I think the Browns will make not that they didn't make an emphasis to get on the ball. They threw it to him 8 times. But I think there'll be a concerted effort to get him in a rhythm, involved, and getting going against the Giants, because they need him, especially without David Njoku in there.
Yeah. And that my follow-up question was going to be if any of the offseason stuff, might be affecting him at all. So the professional that you are, you went ahead and answered that without even being asked. So there you go. But it is amazing. That play annoyed me. You're right. He had the first down. Then, the penalties back to that, they went from the 15 to the 50 at the end of the game. Watson throwing the ball when he should have taken the sack. We'll talk about that coming up here in a minute. But it just seemed like they wanted to really make a mistake to let the Jags win the game. But at the other end, they made big plays to win the game. So it's like, do you know what I mean, Scott?
Yes.
They almost made a million plays that cost them the game, but yet you had the beautiful punt, the safety, which was huge, because now you're up 18-13 instead of 16-13. So now the Jags have to score a touchdown instead of a field goal. I shouldn't have even gotten to that. But the bottom line is they made big plays too. It was such a bizarre game in that regard.
Oh, there's no doubt, Chud. It goes back to your first point, is if they lose that game, all the focus is on all those things that led to that. And you forget the punt, you forget the safety. When you win, you don't forget, but the focus shifts from those mistakes to all the plays that led to the win. And that's that's how it's supposed to be. And that's how the NFL works. Now, if you're the coach, you talk about all of it. And you're in the meeting and you point out all the stuff that went wrong and said, we need to fix that. And you said, this is stuff we did well. But if you're us and we're in the media and you win, that's the story, is the win. And you refer to those things and we talked about them. But, the priority is this now as opposed to that. And that's just life in the NFL. But you're 100% right. They put themselves in terrible spots and then got themselves out of terrible spots. And they can be cleaner, and they should be cleaner. And if you're going to beat better teams in Jacksonville, you need to be clean.
How about Jerry Jeudy? That was fun to watch.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. And it's still 2 games, but I've been impressed with him. And since he came back to practice on a regular basis, he dealt with a knee injury in the offseason and then early in training camp. He's been really good. And you can see why he was the Litnikoff winner and why he was a top 15 draft pick, because he can get open. He can run. I think what's interesting is he and Watson have a chemistry in that scramble drill, which we know with Watson, there's going to be a lot of scramble drills. And Jeudy has figured out a way to get open, get in Watson's line of vision, and make a play. There's a play here. You talk about the thin line between winning and losing. Look at that first drive, right? We're all talking about it. 16 plays, 89 yards. Watson throws a ball that as he's scrambling, that looks like it should be intercepted. It winds up being a juggling catch from Jeudy. Foreman fumbles on the 1-yard line and recovers. Either of those things go the other way, and not that they couldn't have won, but the game takes on a different tone. It takes on a different rhythm. Things go differently, right? The whole butterfly effect. So that's just how the NFL works, and it's why people love it. It's also infuriating because you try to boil it down into a couple of easy things, and it's not. And there's luck involved and all those things. But to answer your question, Jerry Jeudy, I don't know if you can call him a pleasant surprise because they're paying him a bunch of money and they traded for him, but certainly off to a good start and an encouraging start.
How about some stats here? The Browns 11-0 against AFC South teams under Stefanski. I don't know if you mentioned that earlier. I can't
I did not.
remember. They're 13-1 when they get 4 sacks under Stefanski. So, obviously that's pretty big defensively. And then here's another one, which leads me into our next topic, which we have talked about here throughout, but let's really focus on them now. Deshaun Watson now 7-0 in his career against the Jags.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Chud, he lit up when he got asked about that in the post-game interview. I think it was a Jacksonville writer or media member. And he got his eyes got big, had a big smile. He said, "Yeah, I knew I was good against Jacksonville. I didn't want to talk about it this week and jinx it." But he knew he had been good against Jacksonville. I thought he made significant strides. And, 22 for 34, 186, 2 sacks, no touchdowns, no interceptions, the 1 rushing touchdown from a yard, 78.8 passer rating. Now, that's below average in today's NFL. But, and that's weighted toward, interceptions really push up that, or I'm sorry, touchdowns really push up the passer rating. So he had thrown a touchdown, I'm sure to have jumped up there. But it just looked so much cleaner against the Jaguars than it did against the Cowboys. And I thought the decisions were quicker. Got the ball out of his hands better. Not always, and that's, fans are going to have to live with that. He's going to hold the ball sometimes and run around and make plays and take sacks, and that's just how he's going to operate. But it felt to me a concerted effort, especially early, to get it out and make the quick decisions. And I don't know if you saw this, Chud. Kurt Warner, the Hall of Fame quarterback, did a 55-minute breakdown on YouTube of Watson against the Cowboys. And it was 19 plays. And I watched it on the flight to Atlanta on my layover to Jacksonville on Saturday. And it's fascinating. And I love Kurt Warner, and I think he does an unbelievable job. But he showed play after play where he said, I don't know what Watson is looking at. He's looking in the right direction and not making a throw. He's not making the right decision. And I watched that, and I was like, is he going to be able to figure this out? Watson. And I thought he was way better than that, way better week 2, especially early in the game. And I think the play calls helped him, but he was better in that area, and he's going to need to continue to make growth there because quarterback all starts with decision-making and timing, and those were way off against the Cowboys and way better against Jackson.
Yeah. What would you give him grade-wise?
See, it feels like I want to grade him on the curve based on week 1 and based on everything, but I'm not going to. And I'm going to give him a B. I was going to say B-, but he won the game. So I'm going to give him I'm going to go B- because not enough deep, not enough explosive plays, bogged down in the second half, that dumb incompletion at the end. I'm going to go B-. I think there's still a ton of room for improvement.
Yeah, I was between C+ and B-. So we're very similar. I just feel like he was, I don't know, like you just kind of said it. I felt like there's still more there,
Yeah.
and I feel like the game plan was, as you mentioned, well thought out and helped him succeed. Winning on the road in the NFL is not easy. He made some great plays where he looked like the Deshaun Watson of Houston. But again, you mentioned too some of the bad plays. What was he thinking on that ball at the end of the game? I mean, that's just could you imagine if we would have lost that game?
Right. And it almost got intercepted, right? Like it's all a blur, but I think there was a chance it gets intercepted or it looks like a fumble, and there's that doubt for a second. But even take that out of the equation. Throwing an incompletion there as opposed to taking a sack costs the team 40 or 45 seconds. And when we look at Jacksonville throwing in the ball into the end zone with 8 seconds left, the last play of the game, you think, well, if and it's extrapolation and you don't know how it's going to play out, but they wouldn't have been in position to if they had less time, right? It changes everything. And, Stefanski tells him if it's not easy, take the sack. And I don't know what he's thinking, Chud. Is it, hey, I can make a play here, or I don't want to, I don't know. Like, we're going to lose a ton of yards, but it doesn't matter if you lose a ton of yards because you're going to punt. It's a bad decision from a guy who should know better. And, there's a separate discussion we can talk about whether or not you should just run it there, and that plays into the whole Eagles-Falcons Monday night. And we don't have to get into that. But if you're going to throw it there, you trust your quarterback to make the right decision, and he made the wrong decision.
Right. I mean, didn't Stefanski say something post-game that he was I can't remember his direct quote, but it was something along the lines of being mad at him for that play or something, right?
He goes, I was mad at him, but I didn't stay mad at him.
Yeah. So I guess I missed it if he did. Did anyone ask him why he did that, or what? Did anyone ask him about that play?
You know what? That's a great question, Chud. I don't know. You know what? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm going to call up his post game right now. The transcript that we did, but I don't think so. Like I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't feel like I saw it, but I could be wrong. But yeah, just a disastrous. That could have been very disastrous. But bottom line is, he looks a lot better now. We just need some explosive plays. I think that's what this offense will be looking for here. If you're going to beat some of these other teams in the NFL that are going to be that, let me put it to you this way: you're going to need more points to hang against some of these other teams. You could get away with winning 18-13 against the Jags.
Yeah, you're 100% right, and I'm going to contradict. Well, I mean, I'm not the coach, so who cares, right? But the 1-0 thing, and that's how the Browns have to approach it. But we can take a bigger look, and we've talked about it. The soft part of the schedule is right now, and
yeah,
they're going to need to be better. And it looks like, and you never know how the NFL plays out, and it's any given Sunday, blah blah blah. This looks like the chance for the Browns to put together some wins, stack some wins against lower opponents, and get Watson where they need him to be. Because then you're going to play the Jalen Hurtses and the Justin Herberts and the Lamar Jacksons and the Joe Burrows, and we can go on the list. Right now, it's the Giants and Daniel Jones, it's the Raiders and Gardner Minshew, and it's the Commanders and Jalen Daniels. The Browns should win these games coming up, the next three, have a chance to move to the top of the AFC North, and give Watson a chance to get really comfortable. Now, that's a bunch of assumptions, and it's one, they still got to go and do it. But that's what needs to happen. Like, if you're talking, okay, how can the Browns get where they need to go? I think the first step is get hot right now and get Watson right.
Yeah, and because you just said they should win the next three, I'm going to go ahead and say that they'll go 2-1 probably and be 3-2.
There you go.
Because that's just the way the NFL works. I mean, it's tough to win 3 in a row, and they are going to have to go. They're going to be going on a tough road stretch here coming up.
Well, yeah, I mean, I say they should win their next three, or they'll probably be favored in their next three. Whether but two of those are on the road. They go to Vegas, they go to Washington, then they go to Philly. So yeah, it feels like an easy stretch, but it's not completely easy, right? Then they come home, but they come home for tough teams. So that's the NFL. But when we looked at the schedule, and we know how the schedule ends, and things can change, but it looks really hard at the end. Bunch of division games. You just need to win games early, period.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, how about Baltimore losing to the Raiders? Dallas. I mean, isn't that nuts, Scott? As the Browns are playing Jacksonville, to see Dallas just getting crushed by New Orleans. I mean, it's just at home, just crazy.
Yeah. That's just the only way you can put it. Crazy league, and those are the two probably best examples from this weekend.
Yeah, another one too is the Lions at home.
Yeah.
I mean, they were like
the Baker in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, incredible. So, all right. Anything else before we get on to prediction time?
Let me glance at my list real quick here, Chud. We talked that. No, real quick.
Injuries, I guess.
Yeah, I mean Miles Garrett and Denzel Ward were limited. I think they'll be okay. I thought Miles still played pretty well, but something to monitor. He's got the foot. Ward's got the shoulder. Able to win without Ward. He only played 11 snaps. Miles played, 40 snaps, I think. But something to keep an eye on. But I feel like they're both going to play through them. And left tackle, I think they're getting closer. We talked about it forever. I think Conklin is getting closer. I think Wilson's getting closer. And whether it's this week or the week after, you're going to see one of those guys at left tackle. And I think that'll be an upgrade.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Ward. That was there any thought as you were watching the game or after the game thinking why did he play at all, or if he was only going to play 12 plays, or
Well,
can you?
yeah, it was interesting because he was on the injury report all week, but he was a full participant. And when that happens, like guys are hurt all the time. Like guys, if they practice, and he was, you knew he was going to play. Like they didn't list him as questionable, so it wasn't even on my radar. And we talked to Denzel during the week. Like it just wasn't a thing. And then all of a sudden you're watching, and he started the game and he played the first couple snaps, and then he's out, and he's standing on the sideline, and he looks okay, and like what's going on? And then he wouldn't play until third down. So now they were only using him on third down, and that's weird. And then I looked at the injury report and said, oh, well, he was on there with the shoulder. So, you can practice with the shoulder because there's not a lot of contact. And then they get to the game, and Kevin Stefanski said he was feeling it. So maybe he took a hit, made a tackle early, felt the shoulder, and they said, hey, we're going to be careful with him here. We like our other corners. So, I don't know if playing 11 snaps put him in harm's way. I feel like he was going to play. But, shoulders – an important thing. And if you're playing corner, you're going to have to come up and hit. So it's, Stefanski says rest and time, but how do you do that when you're playing every 7 days?
True. All right. Now prediction time, or you got anything else?
No, I'm good. Let's go.
All right. Can't remember who went first last week. I think you did. I go first, or did you?
I think you did, Chud, because I think you finished it with the right pick. Yeah. So you go first this time.
I go first this time. Okay. All right. So I'm 1-1. You're 0-2. Scott, you're at that dreaded 0-2. You got to win this week. You can't. It's.
There's no way I'm going to the playoffs if I'm 0-3, Chuck.
Yeah, you're not making it to the prediction playoffs if you. But anyway, I'm not going to go long on this. I think it's the Browns have to win this game. I mean, as you just mentioned, they're going on the road for a bunch of games after this. The Giants are 0-2. They have not looked good. They lost to Washington, and Washington kicked a bunch of field goals. I know it was like 7 field goals. Yeah. They do have Malik Neighbors, which is a concern. I guess they could break out at any time. The NFL is crazy, as we continue to talk about. You got to win this game, and I'm going to predict them to win it. That being said, of course, would we come on here next week and be like, oh, I can't believe they lost? No, probably not. But I'm going to go ahead and pick them, but I don't think they're going to roll them. And there might even be times where you're a little bit nervous, but I'm going to go Browns 20-17.
Wow, that's closer than I'm going to go, Chud. You're right. I mean, they could lose any game. They could win any game. I would be surprised if they lost to Daniel Jones. This defense, I think, and it goes back to what we talked about. I think this defense is really good. I think they'll make life really difficult on Daniel Jones. I guess that doesn't mean that he couldn't scramble for 80 yards. We've seen him do that before. But I like their chances at home against a Daniel Jones Giants team. Doesn't feel they have neighbors. Doesn't feel like they have a ton of playmakers. I like Brian Dable a lot. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a good play caller. They're already talking about his job security, which is not a good sign. So maybe the Giants come in and their backs are against the wall, and they put up their best fight of the season. But I like the Browns. I think this is a good matchup for them. I got Cleveland 23-10.
Wow, 13-point win.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You definitely
your confidence is high.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm 0-2, so nobody should listen to me. But
wow, Scott, come on! You are a national renowned Xer or tweeter or whatever you want to call it.
That's true.
So don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, I'm just being self-deprecating. Everybody should listen to me. So
yeah, I know. Do you remember? Did you write down the scores we predicted last week? I feel like I was close to. I thought, did I go 16-13?
I think you might have. I went 20-16. You might have gone 16-13.
Yeah, I was 2 away.
Yeah. Well, you were there before the safety. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But what do you call that again when you hit
the
noser
score
right on? You did
it's a noser. Yep.
Noser. You did it last year.
I did once, yeah. And so you might, if you had 16-13, you had a nostril because you had the 13 right for the Jaguars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
A little press box humor for you.
Who knew? All right, buddy.
Cool.
It's been fun. We'll do it again next week. Hopefully, talking about your 2-1 Cleveland Browns.
There you go. Yeah, and you're 1-2 Scott Petrak. So thank you, Chud, as always. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for listening. This has been another episode of the Zone Coverage Podcast, and you can read all my work at brownzone.com. Thanks.